This is a Stipple Wild video, so if you don't have Stipple Wild, you will not be able to do this. Okay, I'm going to explain how to get this uh, bitmap noise effect, like in these two images, and also how to get a bitmap effect on just any old image. Alright, so I'm going to launch Stipple Wild. And we're going to go to source image, and I'm going to pick that skull. And I'm going to go to paint mode, and then I'm going to start drawing. All right, so this is a weird little trick. And basically, let me hide this. Basically, we want to have a draw image that's just a neutral gray, and that's because using a draw image that has a neutral gray is the easiest way to control the dot size and make it perfectly consistent. And by easiest, I mean it's complicated and strange. So anyway, right over the in the color menu, there's this little icon for a folder. Anyway, if you click that, it allows you to enter in a hex code. And for an absolutely neutral gray, the code is hashtag 8080, hit OK. And now we have this neutral gray color. Anyway, once you make that, just click it, and then you'll get it in your color history. Now we want to switch to background, and we want to apply that effect. All right, so now from here, we're just going to hit save, and we're going to save this. And we just saved just a gray slate to work with. Now I'm going to go back to making the background black, and we're going to load in the draw image that gray background. So now all of my dots are going to be uniform, or all the dots I make are going to be uniform, as opposed to if we didn't have a draw image at all, they would be they'd be varying randomly based on the min and the max draw size. So now what we want to do is go to dot shape, and we want to make this square 1 and hit the plus button on your dot size, and now pull the slider to somewhere, I don't know, somewhere around here. Okay. So now if we were to just draw real quick, we've got these big square dots that we're working with. Go back to this. Just kill it. I was just going back to my levels to make sure that my min and max threshold are totally to the left, totally to the right, totally opened up. All right. So next up, what we want to do is go over to the grid menu, and we want to put in percent coverage, and then we're going to go with 100. And now this probably isn't going to give us exactly what we want, but let's take a look at what happens. So if we hit fill, you see that there's gaps. Now in a perfect world, there would not be these gaps, because we'd be making the dots at 100% coverage, which basically means they'd cover up the entire screen. However, since if you go up to this top fill bucket, you can see the stats from your last fill. Basically, Stipple's always trying to use full numbers for your C and your R, your columns and your rows, so it always has a whole number in there. And in doing that, it has to round off the coverage itself. Sorry, this is all complicated technical stuff. So I'm gonna put in 110, and then I'm gonna hit go and see if that. All right, so that fills in the gaps, and it also gives us these. We've got this very consistent grid right here. Now if we were to, so basically that's it. That's how you get that effect. Now if we make this smaller and hit fill, you'll see. Let's hit trash and hit fill again. And I'm gonna hide this. You'll see it's a tighter image, and we can keep going. You can see. So it's basically when you're using percent coverage over here, your columns and rows are all based on your dot size. So as you adjust your dot size, the grid is automatically adjusting. So when you use about 110 and with this gray background, you should have consistent dots that fill the entire screen. All right, so let's trash that, and we're gonna unclick the color map altogether. So now if we were to hit fill, it would just fill this up. Like, let's use blue. You'll see that now the whole screen is just going to be filled up with blue dots, because we don't have any. We don't have a color map to reference. So here's the cool trick. First off, we're gonna hit the trash bucket, and we're just gonna trash all the colors in our palette right here. All right. So now we're going to click black and click it, and click white and click it. So now what we have is a black and a white swatch in our color history. And now we're going to hit this G button right here. And if we hit fill, you'll see that we have this random uh, this random bitmap noise image. And so if we were to make the dot smaller and go again, we would have a tighter pattern. And if we were to go bigger and try again, now you'll see that we ended up getting a couple extra gaps in there. Again, that's just because of the way that Stipple is rounding the values. Now this is a lot more pronounced right here. You can see, I'm going to make sure screen lock is on. You can see that we have this blank space over here. So what you can do is use column offset. And I'm going to just pick a value to start with, and then we'll hit go again. And you can see that we're closing in that gap. So if I were to switch this to like pink, you can see that. So if I put in something like 60, hit go again, and now we're almost there. We almost have the whole screen filled up. But that itself is going to depend on how big your dots are. And it's not really that big of a deal when you use smaller dots, but when you use bigger dots, it becomes more apparent. Also, you'll notice that down here and up here, there's some pink coming through. This is because of my crappy programming. I'm going to fix that, and I didn't realize how. I didn't realize the version I'm using right here doesn't have that fixed yet. So let's see the clock. Okay, so we will continue with one more thing. I'm going to make the dots smaller, and I'm going to hit the trash bucket, trash. Sometimes you can't see that there's actually a black swatch in there, but we want to just clear out our entire history. So now I'm going to just hit a couple of random colors. If you don't know, if you select a color and then hit that color preview, it'll push it into your history. And I'm gonna hit trash bucket. Let's go back to a black background and hit fill. Whoops. Let's see what's going on right here. Oh, there we go. Just go over that again because I got a little lost there. Okay, so I filled up my palette with a bunch of random colors. I made sure that the G was on, and then I hit the fill button again, and now we've got this random JPEG noise. And again, if you wanna perfect it, you can just enter in column and row offsets just so the center's a little bit better. I'm gonna probably patch all this stuff eventually to make it so the dots start at a better spot on the left and then end up on a better spot over on the right. But in the meantime, you can just use column offsets and just keep hitting the RE button just to see what you're getting. And remember, if we make this smaller, hit go, now we have tighter noise. And if we make it bigger and hit go, and now we're probably gonna have gaps. Yeah, we got little gaps. But anyway, we could fill those gaps in if we go like 120. There we go. All right, so thanks for watching. If you make something cool, let me see it. And thanks a lot. Bye.